of the discussion, that means I'm going to drag you in and you get to talk. Oh, crap. Yeah, I completely agree, Marion. Being nice is far outweighs all the other bullshit that a person can do and would do. Okay, so rules of the internet. So, how did all of this start? So, um, I'm going to preface by explaining to everybody where the rules of the internet appeared and where it all came from, and that's going to require me to talk about a handful of things that is really just urban legend to a bunch of people, but it will demystify most of, if not all of, what um, I'm about to describe. So I've been a long time info security, network security, PCL, um, vulnerability and penetration security engineer. That's been pretty much the entirety of my career over the last 30 years. So back in the early 2000s, there was this resource called 4chan. Now, is there anybody in the chat that knows what 4chan is? Just a simple yes will do, so that I can gauge the audience for whether or not it's a wise idea to talk about this or not. Okay, right, of course. 4chan was an image board from way back, and the glory of 4chan was that um, no, 4chan, 4chan.com. It was an image sharing board, and it was a very ethereal, fluid place where identity did not have any kind of solidity to it. And so the 4chan image board was really the birth of what everyone calls anonymous. And so whenever you hear about anonymous, people are like, oh, weird hacker people. No, it wasn't really like that. You had 4chan, and then you had internet relay chat rooms, IRC rooms, where security engineers and script kiddies and bad actor people would all sort of gather together and talk about shit. And if you were a security engineer, those were spaces that you hung out in. So I want to be very clear about the rules of the internet. These came about as a result of those experiences um, from back in the early 2000s. Um, so I've been in the industry a long time, but I did not come up with the rules. That said, however, the rules have existed for quite a while. Some of the rules are unkind. Some of the rules are completely and outrightly stupid. And then others have a sort of realism attached to them that when people realize that this is what was happening, it's sort of like, oh, that had a positive effect. And it's very true, it did. So take all of this stuff into account when you hear me go through the rules of the internet. And realize that while taking those facts into case, you should also realize that back in 2006, we were just a bunch of bored security engineers who had way too much time on our hands, and we came up with a bunch of shit to validate what the fuck we were doing. This won't be pretty. You'll probably all hate me after this is over, and if you do, I completely understand. So, rule number one, do not talk about B. This was a brilliant commandment that came out of the wild depths of 4chan's random board /B around 2005, 2006. And it was an adaptation of the Fight Club rule, which, the book for Fight Club, I think, was out by then, if not the movie. I don't remember. Anyway, And so basically the rule stated that anything that happens in B, nobody talks about it. Whatever happens in /B stays in /B. Um, Rule number 2, really don't talk about /B. So the passionate repetition reinforces the beautiful paradox of at the heart of internet culture with the power of a huge thunderclap. And so just like Fight Club's intentional redundant rules, um, the duplication of don't fucking talk about /B brought that home. Now, I'm going to just sort of go over rule 3, 4, 5, and then addendum 5A and 5B, which I didn't list in the rules um, page, and that's basically the anonymous credo, which says, we are anonymous, we are legion, we do not forgive, we do not forget, expect us. That was the credo of the anonymous subculture collective. And admittedly, my partner and I associated with these groups of individuals, so when she says they were idiots, she's just saying that we were idiots too. Don't listen to her, she's fucking lying. Um, so, born out of the rich primordial soup of the early 2000s, where identity was optional and collective power was discovered, the declaration that Anonymous existed was a profound statement of digital unity. That statement transcended from a message board philosophy to a global movement of people that cared about shit. So the whole hacktivist mentality came out of that, um, and all the other sort of things that cascaded down from that. For me, at the time, I personally was a gray hat. So if I found a vulnerability, I would write up the proof of concept. Um, I would send the proof of concept to whoever it was that was the subject of the vulnerability. I did one for XM radio. And if they didn't give a shit, then back then I would send the write up to the 2600, the Hacker Quarterly, and usually they would publish it. This was just what happened back in the late 90s and early 2000s. So the powerful assertion emerged that the anonymous hacker collective evolved from scattered individuals into one unified force of individuals, brilliantly adopting terminology to express their strength. We are many. Uh, chew off one head, cut off one head, two more will take its place. Um, Creating a supportive digital community where individuals could contribute to something far greater than themselves. And this was true. I mean, it birthed LulzSec and all those other subgroups of the anonymous culture. This unwavering commitment originated during early operations. Now, people will remember like Project Chinology, which was um, the hacker collective, the anonymous collective's directive um, against the Church of Scientology, um, which was the beginning of the end for the Gawker Media Group. The real end for the Gawker Media Group was the Hulk Hogan video that they published, where Hulk Hogan went and sued Gawker Media for a bunch of money, and that took the Gawker.com website down. And so that was a very sad moment because Gawker was like the Paramore of, Paramount of resource back then, and we all read Gawker and we all believed in what Gawker did. Interestingly enough, the Wonket.com crew is the remnants of the Gawker Media empire or whatever, and so Rebecca over there will eternally have my respect for that reason. So the unwavering commitment during the operations that happened discovered revealed an incredible persistence of principled digital communities. If you fuck with Anonymous, it'll fuck you back. And there's more iteration of that later in the rule set. So that was sort of where we were. And so we were security engineers and we wrote proof of concept shit while we worked real jobs. And at night we sat down and we figured out why shit broke and why it didn't break and how we could make things do. This website doesn't behave this way. How can I make it behave that way? The whole um, vulnerability and penetration security engineering space was just like that. That's what we did back then. So rule number 6, anonymous can be horrible, senseless, and an uncaring monster. Um, that's a self-awareness that emerged as a necessary warning after early actions demonstrated raw, impressive power. I mean, turning all the icons on a website to swastikas. That was the kind of shit that happened back then. Because the early stages, the early phases of the internet were most certainly horribly vulnerable. Um, Number 7, anonymous is still able to deliver. This was a confident affirmation that arose after successful operations proved that despite the chaotic structure of the anonymous subculture, um, genuine results could be achieved through collective action. Yes, during Project Synology, I, living in Atlanta, went down to the Church of Scientology office down in Dunwoody, Georgia, with my black cape and my Guy Fawkes mask, and I stood out there like a complete idiot protesting the Church of Scientology's threat to the collective. Um, Rule number 8. There are no real rules about posting. And so what that says is the liberating principle evolved from gloriously unfiltered early internet where expression flowed freely in all of its raw authenticity. So the statement brilliantly celebrates the absolute freedom while acknowledging the beautiful contradiction inherent in creating the rules of the internet. Now, I will say that rule number 8 is probably what caused Pepe the Frog and much of the 8chan and Chiz-chan shit that would turn into QAnon. That's where that all came from. So, there was a fork where they took the whole rules about posting shit way too far, and that's what caused the QAnon bullshit to happen. Rule number 9, there are no rules about moderation either. Enjoy your ban. This wickedly honest warning emerged from recognizing how power dynamics inevitably form even in supposedly anarchy-driven spaces. Brutal authentication, brutal authentic observation. The rule acknowledges that the beautiful chaos of early internet spaces, you can express yourself freely, you can say whatever the fuck you want, but actions have consequences in communities that are run by collective groups. You violate terms of service, you're banned. Fuck off. Accept it. Move on. No, rule number 10, if you enjoy any rival sites, don't. Uh, that was a passionate tribal sentiment emerged from the intensely loyal nature of early internet communities. If you loved your community, you didn't engage in rival communities at the same time. If you did that, you were a shill that would get you banned from the community that you were in. Fuck you, go away, and you're not gonna make it. The fierce community pride that existed back then created digital families where users found their people, defended their digital turf. One of those big spaces was, we were talking about this earlier today, Peter Anspach, who runs, I'm going to drop this link into the chat, eviloverlord.com, which I contributed to in its early days. And so this was one of those communities. Wherein literally all we did was sit around and come up with all of the crazy rules that if I ever became an evil overlord, these are the things that I would do to maintain my power. An example of those rules would be shit like shooting is not too good for my enemies. Um, Rule number 5, the artifact, which is the source of my power, will not be kept on the mountain of despair beyond the river of fire, guarded by the dragons of eternity. it'll be stored in a safety deposit box under my bed in my castle, like everyone else does. Um, Another classic evil overlord rule: I will never employ any device that has a digital countdown. If I find such a device is absolutely unavoidable, I will set it to activate when the counter reaches 117 instead of 0, so that the hero doesn't have fucking time to do any shit about it. Anyway, read that list. It's a whole lot of fun. This was what digital communities were like back then. So rule number 11, um, all of your carefully picked arguments can be easily ignored. Now, this is where we're going to start to get into shit that you really should think about and apply today, and there's a reason for that. So all of your carefully picked arguments can be easily ignored. This is a profound truth that has materialized from countless hours of passionate debate met with silence, teaching valuable lessons about digital communication. Brilliant observation captures something essential about human interactions online. Sometimes our most thought out contributions vanish into the void, mean absolutely nothing, and nobody gives a shit about them at all. So these are things that you have to take into account. And honest with you, that's what I think about sometimes about the shit that I write on Wendy the Druid. It's like I'm just writing it and I'm putting it out there, and I'm not sure if people find value in it or not, or if it's just going off into the void and no one gives a shit. I mean, people can like it and they can comment on it, but sometimes I wonder about my own validity as a person and what validity that has, which is one of the reasons why I pump all you guys for comments, because when I'm asking you, is this valid? Is it valuable to you? And you say yes, then I get that validation back, and I feel like I have value. So rule number 12: anything that you can say will be used against you. So this clever Miranda rights adaptation emerged as users discovered the permanent nature of digital footprints. So earlier today, if you look, I published an article about Elon Musk, and I used the emo pirate jacket looking Elon Musk picture that Elon Musk himself attempted to ban off of the internet and stop people from posting. Here's the thing: the internet doesn't forget. It never forgets. If you do something stupid and it appears on the internet, guess what? Somebody's going to find it, and people are going to post the shit out of it, and it doesn't matter how angry it makes you. Um, so the internet's long memory is a powerful source for accountability, and it always has been. Rule number 13: anything that you say can be turned into something else, fixed. Uh, this insightful warning sprouted from the creativity energy of forum quote wars, where context evolved and meaning transformed in weird and unexpected ways. The addition of fixed signaled the community's brilliant ability to reframe and reinterpret. A reminder that language's beautiful malleability and the collective's power to reshape narratives. Now, here's the problem with that. That probably also caused a major portion of the QAnon craziness to happen. QAnon forked off and decided that they needed the people that participated in that specific internet community decided they needed to change the narrative, and the narrative needed to be whatever the fuck they wanted the narrative to be versus what made sense. So, rule 14, this is a big one. And I've heard this repeated many times over. If you've ever been a member of a forum community, or any community online, you should know this, and there's a reason for it. So I'm just going to say it. Don't argue with trolls. It means they win if you argue with them. You go on Twitter and somebody starts trolling you, just ignore them. The hard-earned wisdom, that hard-earned wisdom emerged from countless wars of attrition, taught a valuable lesson about preserving the mental health in digital spaces. The principle, don't feed the troll. That entirely happened because of things like Godwin's Law. Are there people, yes, Jenny, exactly. Are there people in this chat that know about Godwin's Law? Somebody tell me they know about Godwin's Law. If you don't know about Godwin's Law, I'm about to tell you. Okay, I'm going to take that to mean that nobody knows what Godwin's law is. So Godwin's law is the assertion that basically, as an internet discussion continues to go forward, the moment that somebody in the discussion likens the person they are arguing with in the discussion to Hitler, that makes the failure of the argument immediately shift to a probability of 1. The minute that you say Nazi, the minute that you say Hitler, in an attempt to prove your argument, you've lost. That's it. Game over. Walk the fuck away. You can't do anything now. And so that became an essential internet survival advice when people realized that engaging with bad faith actors did nothing. You know, fuck you, you're a Nazi. Yeah, fuck you, you're a Nazi. Okay, the argument's over, you've lost. The minute you've done that to me, I've achieved whatever it was that I wanted to achieve in the argument. So, which leads into Rule 15, which says the harder you try, the harder you will fail. And that observation materializes communities recognize how authentic, effortless contribution always outshines people who are desperately seeking approval seeking. The internet developed a remarkable bullshit detector for identifying forced content, creating spaces where genuine expression thrived, and calculated attempts at manipulation were rightfully called out. One of my favorite examples of this was the longtime website Bullshito, and literally all that website community would do is call out martial artists who were peddling bullshit. The top of that pyramid, by the way, was Frank Dukes, the subject of the Jean-Claude Van Damme movie Bloodsport, which there was mounds of evidence that support that how Frank Dukes' life was described in the movie Bloodsport actually never happened. It was all bullshit. He just made it up. So the Bullshito community, they made a habit out of doing that, disproving or proving that people who try as hard as they do in certain community spaces will eventually fail because they'll just fuck it up. Rule 16, however, says if you fail in epic proportions, it may become a winning failure. And so that constellation emerged as spectacularly awkward moments, sometimes achieved immortality just because they were authentic, transcending conventional notions of success. Every time some stupid TikTok video goes viral and 5 million people watch it because it's completely stupid and somebody had their camera on at that exact moment, that is an exemplification of that rule. We literally saw this fucking 25 years ago. If you fuck up bad enough and somebody's there to watch it, it might be like a winning failure because it's so spectacularly fascinating or interesting or whatever else that you'll actually be credited with human triumph. The Haktua girl, classic example of epic failure that turned into a winning failure. Now, ultimately, the 17th rule, which says every win fails eventually. This is a grounding reminder emerged from watching internet phenomena rise and fall with breathtaking speed, teaching valuable lessons about impermanence. And impermanence teaches us that you can succeed only so much. Eventually, you're going to fuck up and you're going to fall down. You can go back to succeeding after that, but you're not going to consistently win every time, constantly over and over. I mean, you're going to fuck up. And when you're there fucking up, other people are going to catch you fucking up and you won't be allowed to forget it. So, Rule 18 everything that can be labeled can be hated. This observation crystallized as internet communities displayed, demonstrated humanity's incredible capacity for developing specific opinions. Well, yeah, and it was successful because, like, that, I know, yeah, it's completely nasty because it's some girl hawking a loogie, but that TikTok video took like 8 million views or some shit. You read the story about her. She actually It was like weird. Her meteoric success just because of one video. Um, so everything that can be labeled can be hated. Um, so the human desire to categorize uh, merged with the passionate expression, creating an environment where every possible interest finds both dedicated fans and equally dedicated critics. Yeah, fanboys and fangirls, and the people that hate fanboys and fangirls. That's what that rule iterates. Um, so, uh, which leads into Rule 19. The more that you hate something, the stronger it gets. This is a psychological insight that emerged out of targeted campaigns that repeatedly backfired, revealing a fundamental truth in attention economics. Uh, the Streisand effect, everyone knows what that is, um, became a fundamental law of internet physics. Negative attention is still powerful attention, creating this fascinatingly counterintuitive reality where opposition often amplifies the vast things that it seeks to diminish. The really sad part about this is we're watching that happen right now with Donald Trump. And until, you know, the resistance against him gets so vast that he can't surmount it, you know, what's happening right now is a byproduct of we can hate him all we want, and we're going to continue to hate him, but he's going to draw strength from that until he fucks up royally and we catch him, and then, you know, it's all over. So rule number 20, nothing is to be taken seriously. This is a liberating perspective that developed as a healthy coping mechanism against the overwhelming intensity of online interaction and endless information that was constantly being regurgitated at you. Um, the stance of playful detachment became a valuable armor in spaces where tone was easily misinterpreted. And text and tone, when someone sends you a text message, understanding the tone, that goes way over people's heads. I mean, it goes over my head all the time, and I'm fucking autistic. So, what does that tell you? Rule 21, original content is only original for a few seconds before it gets old. Um, this mind blowing realization emerged as creation and consumption accelerated to unprecedented speeds, revealing new truths about digital culture. So the internet became this testament of humans' creativity, incredible space, transforming yesterday's innovations into today's foundations. And then one day went by and we were all like, oh, that's old, move to the next thing. Um, it's a fucking exhilarating, if exhausting, testament to our collective creative power, but that creative power is only strong enough as the human attention lasts, basically. Rule 22, copy pasta is made to ruin every last bit of originality. So that observation emerged as users witnessed how repeated text could transform meaning through the sheer power of constant repetition and recontextualization. Originally clever text became communal inside jokes, and everybody thought it was funny because you're just repeating something that somebody else said 25 times over, and it's still funny, but it ruins originality. Rule 23, copy pasta is made to ruin every last bit of originality. Um, the genius in the repetition of Rule 23 against Rule 22, because they're the same, um, it describes it with perfect meta commentary. So the intentional duplication works brilliantly on multiple levels, simultaneously demonstrating that copy pasta, copy and pasting shit, um, in action while acknowledging the beautifully recursive nature of internet humor. Self-referential masterpiece that embodies digital culture's love of layers and all the bullshit that goes with it. Every repost is always a repost of a repost. Um, the recursive nature of the internet and early internet communities emerged as internet archaeologists discovered the beautiful interconnectedness of all content through time and culture. The fascinating realization for that creativity builds on itself over the endless chains of just recycled elements over and over again. So when we were younger, in the early days, for instance, there was the internet shock phenomenon. Well, for the first was everybody had to get rickrolled. So sending the YouTube video of Rick Astley's "Never Gonna Give You Up" video and forcing somebody to open it, and then hearing somebody opening it was funny. It was hilarious, and I did it to countless people when I was younger. I've rickrolled hundreds of people, and that was funny because you could do that. So a generation up from that turned out um, internet shock. So I'm gonna don't Google any of the shit that I'm about to talk about. If you do, you'll regret it. Um, Marion, I like 15 more. Yeah, it's long, but people asked for it, so I'm gonna do it. So internet shock. So you know, after the whole Rickroll thing ended or whatever, then um, getting people to open up highly offensive images and looking at them and watching people react. So there was the Goatsy Man, and then there was Tub Girl, and there was, um, you know, Two Girls in One Cup. Don't Blue Waffle. Don't Google the shit. Don't Google any of this because if you do, you'll hate me. Don't do it. But watching people react to profoundly disgusting videos was a hilarious thing that we did back then because we were just reposting reposts constantly over and over again. Yeah, Jenny. Yeah, exactly. I personally tub girled, my partner, which I don't think she ever. Did you ever forgive me for that? Okay, she forgave me for that, but that's crazy. Um, so, Rule 25: relation to the original topic decreases with every single post. The more that you post shit over and over and over again through repetition, um, decreases whatever post value. I don't know that that applies now, but um, conversational jazz, where a single interesting tangent creates wonderful improvisation. Um, um, Improvisational opportunities leading to discoveries impossible through rigid topic enforcement. But if you keep doing it over and over, it becomes overdone. Um, any topic can easily be turned into something totally unrelated. That's basically the same thing. Um, if you keep repeating something over and over and over again, the art of topic expansion allows for skilled practitioners to gradually steer any conversation in any fucking direction that they want. Rule 27: uh, always question a person's preferences, in this case, sexual preferences, without any real reason. And so the reason for this and the next two or three rules is the spawn of something that everyone is going to understand. So the provocative practice emerged from communities challenging conventional boundaries and performative aspects of online identity because online identity was completely anonymous. Nobody knew if you were talking to a boy or a girl or, a trans person or whatever. And so that put us into the situation where always question the gender of the person that you're talking to. This was the predecessor to modern catfishing. Basically, everybody's going to catfish everybody else. If you've ever been catfished because you were talking to somebody on Tinder and then they turned out to not look like the person that you thought you were talking to, we figured all this shit out 25 years ago. It just took the internet a little bit of time to catch up. Rule 29: everyone on the internet is fake. Um, this is a distillation that combines warranted caution against catfishing with the awareness that um, certain presences have on the internet and how they behave. This is just something that you accept. Um, Rule 30, and this one's important, very, very important. There are no girls on the internet. This provocative claim emerged from a male dominated early internet spaces that were gradually forced to acknowledge their limited perspective as female participation grew. And it grew, quite a bit. Um, And the obviously false myth created its own counter movement as women proved their presence through persistent participation, got larger and larger and larger and larger, thus making the rule completely irrelevant. Attention that ultimately helped transform digital spaces into more inclusive environments, which is what we see today. Rule 31. Okay, don't anyone judge me for this, please don't. Tits or get the fuck out. The choice is yours. So, this brash ultimatum emerged as the internet's unique brand of initiation ritual. Um, I used to joke, I used to joke with people. Um, if you're a network security engineer, have you been initiated into the network security engineering field properly? Right. Have you ever seen the goatee man? No. Well, we're going to take care of that. Don't Google that, please. Um, so, um, the unfiltered practice of shock sensibilities while creating an oddly level playing field is the same rationale behind hazing that goes on when you are a fraternity member. It's the same rationale, just on the internet level. Um, Rule 32. Everyone's heard this. The rule actually says you must have pictures to prove your statements, which was the first time anyone ever uttered pics or it didn't happen. You can claim all the fuck you want about anything that you've done on the internet. You don't have pics, you're a bullshitter and it's a lie. Plain and simple. Um, Rule 33. Lurk more. It's never enough. Um, This invaluable advice emerged as communities developed complex dynamics that newcomers needed to understand more for effective participation. The recommendation for silent observation before contribution created stronger communities, and there was cohesion. And essentially, read before you speak became a rationale, which is a rationale you see today. You go into certain Reddit communities, and they will tell you you need to comment a couple of times before you can start posting in the community. It's the same rationale. Okay, here we come to the big one. Does everybody know what Rule 34 is? Is there anybody that doesn't know what Rule 34 is? I'm sure that there's somebody that doesn't know what Rule 34 is, but I just want to do a check. Yes, exactly. Is there anybody that doesn't know about Rule 34 before I continue? Okay, Ann, this is where you're going to hate me. Rule 34 asserts there's porn of it, no exceptions. Um, this is a remarkable observation that emerged as Rule 34 around 2004. After users discovered the truly unlimited nature of human sexual creativity and expression. If it can be thought of, there's a pornographic image of it somewhere on the internet. There's no exceptions. I guarantee you. The furry community exists to prove that Rule 34 is a thing. And I'm not disparaging the furry community in any way. I know a number of people who are in the furry community, and I appreciate them very much. I've been to MomoCon. I've been to Dragon Con. These are things that you experience normally. And so the astonishing realization that literally anything could inspire erotic content online became an internet law, and everybody recognizes it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know, um, internet erotic content wasn't just Hugh Hefner's idea of a beautiful woman in a Playboy magazine. It went every other kind of direction otherwise. Well, then you'll love the next few after this one. So, Rule 35 says if no porn is found at that moment, it'll be made. Somebody will make it. You search for it now, give it a couple of days, somebody will do it. As an inevitable corollary to Rule 34, which acknowledges the unstoppable creative drive to fill any conceptual gap. The internet and the people on the internet hate conceptual gaps. And if there's a conceptual gap, somebody's going to fucking fill it. I guarantee you. Um, the statement recognizes the impressive responsiveness of content creators who see an absence of something as an opportunity. Now, Rule 36, and here's where this is important. Um, there will always be more fucked up shit than what you just saw. You go on the internet, you find something, it's completely disgusting to you. I guarantee you, there's always something worse. Um, we used to joke about this in the early days of the internet when the internet was very small and not the trillions and trillions of endpoints that it is now. Um, that it only took 10 clicks to get to a naked picture of your mom. Right. So, um, the internet became this endless frontier of increasingly surprising content, a bottomless well of human expression where even discovery reveals new depths of imagination. And for better or for worse, it's a testament to our species' unlimited creative potential. uh, yeah, it's an endless pit. It's a black hole. It's a few other things, I'm sure. Um, Rule 37, you cannot divide by zero just because the calculator says so. This mathematical truth infiltrated the rules of brilliant non sequitur, demonstrating the internet culture's love for the unexpected and seemingly random. The arbitrary inclusion of this calculator limitation among social rules perfectly captures the beautiful randomness of internet culture, and it was random, where mathematical principles and social observations coexist with one another in a delightfully chaotic flowing space. Okay, so Rule 38, we're almost at the end. No real limits of any kind apply here, not even the sky, which basically says the internet and its ability to evolve through the creation of human abilities to create content and express that content is completely limitless. The internet became humanity's first truly boundless frontier, an infinite canvas of creation where traditional limitations fell away. You didn't have geography and physical and cultural boundaries anymore. So creating unprecedented opportunities for human connection and creativity, which is why we are talking right now, very likely. Okay, Rule 39. Caps lock is cruise control for cool. The brilliant observation captured in the stylistic choices of users who embraced maximum visibility and impact for their communications by using all caps locks for the shit they talk about, which is just yelling now. You're yelling into the internet. Why do people do this? I don't know. Which is the same, iterated again in Rule 40. So, completing the metaphor with unexpected wisdom about the substance over style. Basically, both of those rules assert that style is more important than substance. That's bullshit. I don't disagree with it. Rule 41, which is a completely non-discrepant rule and doesn't really mean anything. Desu isn't funny. Seriously, guys, it's worse than Chuck Norris jokes. Now, everybody remembers Chuck Norris jokes, right? There's a fist behind Chuck Norris's beard that once shaved off, it will hit you in the face. Yeah, exactly, and 100%. So the comparison of Chuck Norris facts creates a perfect cultural timestamp for the mid 2000s of internet humor, preserving the specific enthusiasms of that era, a wonderfully digital expression of the time. So, Rule 42, nothing is sacred. Um, that declaration codified the internet's willingness to question, challenge, and re-examine everything humanity has ever done and takes for granted or holds criticism against. The deliberate numbering S42 cleverly references Douglas Adams's answer to life, the universe, and everything, which is always 42. If you're a Douglas Adams fan and I ask you what is the answer to life, the universe, and everything, everybody should know that the answer to that question is 42. And if I ask you that question, that's the answer I expect from you, and any other answer that you give me is fucking wrong. Rule 43. You need, hey, you need to be quiet. You need to stop laughing. You know what? My partner is not a good person. Um, Rule 43. The more beautiful and pure a thing is on the internet, um, the more satisfying that it is to corrupt it. Um, this provocative insight emerged from pushing boundaries and challenging conventional aesthetic values through creative subversion and unexpected juxtapositions. Um, the observation creates humanity's desire to transform the familiar into something new. That's just another byproduct of human creativity. Rule 43. We're almost there. Even one positive comment about Japanese things can make you into an otaku, which is basically I'm referencing the exaggeration that arose in the early anime boom of the internet, which meant if you talked about something Japanese, you immediately became obsessed with all things Japanese. It was just again an over exaggeration of the bullshit that we all went through very early on. Rule 45: when one sees a lion, one must get into the car. Okay, if you see a lion and you're standing next to your car, you should just get into your fucking car. Um, that non sequitur originated from a charmingly translated tourism warning that found unexpected immortality in an absurdist meme, which was very early on, even before people talked about memes the way that they do now. The completely random inclusion perfectly demonstrates the internet humor's brilliant appreciation for deep contextualized statements that find new meaning through the community of adoption. If something like that's funny, it'll appear on the internet and people will think that it's funny. Rule 46. And again, I'm not disparaging any community when I say this. There's always a furry of it. Um, this specific extension of Rule 34 emerged as users recognized the anthropomorphic artistic community's remarkable creativity for deserving of specific acknowledgement. Basically, the furry community, um, because of its diversity and its inclusion of all the people who are members of it, um, meant that it had to be specifically pointed out as a rule. Now, the final two rules. The pool is always closed. This rule preserves the memory of the Habbo Hotel raids, where anonymous users created an in-game flash mob blocking access to a virtual pool. What began as a controversial operation evolved into an abstract doctrine, a perfect example of how community actions become legendary, transforming from specific events into cultural touchstones that bind digital communities through shared history, which is something that everybody wants to. Hey, I didn't order. Did you order me a cookie? Why? Okay. I'm going to cry now. My partner got me a cookie. The final rule. I knew we'd get here. It was going to be long. But this is the most important rule from my perspective because I'm a video game person, so I recognize this. Rule 48. The cake is always a lie. And this came out of the game Portal, where a promised cake was just bullshit bait to keep test subjects moving through the game to get to the end. It caught on because it perfectly encapsulates the gut wrenching feeling when you realize that you've been fucking doing something for a reward at the end that you're not even going to get. You're just getting a carrot dangled in front of you, and you keep chasing after it, but you're never going to get it. It's basically shorthand for the sweet thing that they promised is complete horseshit, and it resonates deeply because we have all had moments where we realize we were chasing something that we should never have been chasing at all. Uh, in my opinion, that's a euphemism for as a life experience. There's a race, and you're running it as you go through life. And the profound nature of that is that you're not running the race against anybody else. It's just yourself. And you really shouldn't even do that. You shouldn't run the race against yourself. You should just realize that what pace you move in life is your own choice, and how those choices, yeah, exactly, and how those choices mold you and shape you. Those are the choices that you make, and that's just how it is. So, yes, back in the early 2000s, we didn't know what the fuck we were doing. We didn't know what the fuck we were talking about. But we came up with all these rules for why shit happens on the internet at a time in which the internet was notoriously small, and you could only see it because you connected to a dial up connection that you had to listen to some weird little box make a really disturbingly bad noise, which, by the way, no child uh, over the no child 18 years or younger now has ever heard that fucking noise or even knows what that noise is. And for some reason, I find that completely and totally horrible. Okay, there, I'm done. Uh, do you all hate me now? Hey, sweetheart, if I begged, would you get me a Diet Coke? Oh, oh, you don't hate me. Okay, well, good. Now I'm going to go find Ray and pick on him. Because I promised Ray I was going to pick on him. Here we go. It's probably been too long, so I'm not going to be fortunate enough to catch them. If they join, I'm gonna consider myself very fortunate. We'll see what happens. Oh, of course, Marion. I'm happy to share internet wisdom as much as I'm happy to share druid wisdom because I'm a druid. As much as I'm happy to share herbal wisdom because I'm a druid. As much as I'm happy to share about how I'm fucking pissed off about the way politics is going these days, and I don't know where the fuck we're going or how the fuck we're gonna get there. Okay, we're not gonna get a Ray. So now, um, we're gonna we're gonna pick on somebody else. Oh, and while we're in the last 10 or 15 minutes of the live, um, I'm again going to extend a free 90-day paid comp to the publication. If somebody can guess the make, model, okay, so 30-day comp if you can guess the make and model of my college car, um, and 90-day sub if you can guess the color. Um, who are we gonna ditch on now? I can't bug Anne because I picked on her the last one of the last times. Oh, here we go. Uh, gosh, I hope so. Gosh, I hope so. Yeah, I'm gonna keep round robining until I get somebody. I'm gonna keep round robining until I get somebody. Because I always get somebody on the live, one way or the other. I would prefer to be more successful, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. Okay. Uh, I, so if you guess the color and the make and model all at the same time, I will give you a 90-day paid sub to Wendy the Druid. Um, not having any luck today. Nobody wants to brave talking in the live session. Uh, that's I find that funny. All right, here we go. Here we go. We're gonna see how this works. Oh, I know, Ann. I just like to pick on other people at random times. Uh, I usually wait like 3 or 4 sessions before I pick on you again. You should watch the one that I did last night. Elaine, the very mad feminist, joined in the live, and her and I's conversation was hysterically funny. Um, Hysterically funny. I mean, it was a blast. Um, uh, I had a really good chat with her in that session, and so that was a really good time. Okay, so now we're gonna one more time, and then we'll close with questions. I always like to try to get somebody to come in before I close the session. But if I'm not lucky tonight, that's okay. That's okay. I've made all of you suffer by forcing you to listen to me rant about the hacker subculture uh, from years back when we were bored computer people and we didn't know what the fuck we were doing. Okay, well, um, I will tell you that um, uh, here soon, maybe in the next week or so, I'm going to do a live session with Gizmo, my child, and we're going to talk about racial inequality because that's a subject um, that um, that my child is very interested in. And then if I can coax them in one of them into doing it, one of our other kids, um, um, the older or the younger, doing a session with them where they, excuse me, they can talk through their topic of interest, and I, as a parent, can go, oh, okay, sure, yeah, okay, like I understand their point of view because I'm 52 fucking years old or whatever. So, um, does anybody have any questions? Literally, as I tell everybody in every live, you can literally ask me any question. I don't consider any question off limits, no matter how bizarre, crazy, perverse, or disgusting it is. I will happily answer that question um, because I believe in total transparency as I'm opening my bag of chips. Okay. Well, if nobody has any questions, thank you all for joining the session. I want to iterate to everyone that, oh, the world according to Velvet. Um, you came in late, so I'm about to close the session. Um, uh, so you should listen to the session after I post it here in about the next half hour of Velvet. Everyone, uh, remember, thank you all for all of you who are paid subscribers. This is a paid publication. I appreciate all of you that do. The ones that you that don't feel obligated to do so. It just helps me continue to do all of this work, which I love doing, which is why I'm doing it. Um, Continue to get the word out. If I write something and it inspires you, please share it with people so that they'll read it and they'll go through it and process it, and then they'll understand it. Stay strong, unity. Um, I love you all, and yeah, Marion, there's a the rules are written down in an article in the pub. Um, just go to the front page of the pub, you'll find it. But I love you all. Please be safe out there. Um, don't do anything risky, and stay strong.